much closer to the stage than where we are. As you heard, we're standing now with SABC News politics editor Mzwandile Mbeje, who is steering the ship, as they say, and what a ship it is, because there are so many moving parts. You and I are in a much safer, much calmer part, but it's still relatively loud where we are. Let's speak about what is actually at stake here. Every party wants to believe that they will have 50% plus one. Reality, though, is they're going to have to work together. How do you reckon that will affect how the DA proceeds, given how the GNU has fared?
And it will be quite interesting to see what exactly the leader of the party will say in relation to that. But the fact of the matter is that the fight is actually about who is going to be the largest, so that they can be in pole position to form government. Remember, we already have a template, Ayanda, from the GNU, where the largest party, which is actually the center, is able to call other parties. And I think that's what the DA wants to do here. Of course, they are not going to say that publicly, but their intention and their objective is to emerge as the largest party in Johannesburg, therefore putting them in pole position to then say who do we form government with. Of course, we know with the template of the GNU, parties that they have been working together with, they are probably going to be part of that. So that is the fight. Forget about everything else that we are hearing at the moment. You look at what the polls are saying in terms of who may win. So clearly, there's no one who at this stage is likely to get 50 plus one.
Yeah, it's interesting because part of the concerns for parties like the DA within the GNU is that essentially they are being co-opted by the likes of the ANC, right? We've seen at so many different points them having to agree ultimately with issues that they otherwise have told their supporters they wouldn't. Bella Act, issues to do with the Expropriation Act. How many of those lessons do you reckon they're going to bring into a local government level, given the fact that they're likely going to have those conversations again?
Well, being in opposition and being in government are two different things. And I think when you're in opposition, it's just easy because you are able to speak about things. No one will hold you to account because you will simply say, you did not elect me to be able to do those things. But once you're in government, so you have to be measured in what you are saying, because a few months later, we will be able to go back to say, this is what you said you will do. Why didn't you do it? So some of what the pronouncements they are making, so will have to be tested against the reality on the ground. Because it's easier to say things when no one is going to chase you after them. But when you have to implement, that's what's going to happen. So right now, what we are going to hear from the DA, for example, they will try to use the fact that they are in government in certain municipalities. Of course, they've claimed that in those municipalities, they are doing well. Yes, when you look at what the Auditor General is saying in some of the municipalities, it is correct. So they'll try to use that template to say, if you give us a chance to be the ones who are leading, we'll then be able to replicate the success here in Johannesburg and elsewhere in the country. But the fact of the matter is that this election, Ayanda, is going to be very closely contested, including Cape Metro, where the DA is governing alone, given what the Patriotic Alliance has been doing to them in terms of winning those by-elections. So we are set for one of the most hotly contested elections. Whoever is able to convince the electorate will have a better chance. I don't know who that is at the moment.
It'd be remiss of us not to speak about what's taken place at a leadership level within the party. The last time we had a local government election, John Steenhuisen was the man at the helm. At that time, he had to field many questions about Musi Maimane's departure and how that's all unfolded. Today is Jordan Hill-Lewis, and I imagine he'll have to also speak about what's been in the media about John Steenhuisen's departure.
Yes, you know, it's very interesting that the elective congress of the DA doesn't take like the 5 years that many other parties follow. So with the DA is the 3-year cycle. So after 3 years, they go to an elective congress. So these 3 years tends to then be in between just before the elections. Remember, local government elections and the national elections. So this is what is happening. It doesn't matter how you manage the transition. So once the transition has passed, you have to deal, Ayanda, with what we call reality. I mean, we understand that the reason John C. Hazen was very comfortable leaving the position of being the leader and hoping he will remain as Minister of Agriculture was some sort of a fait accompli agreement between those who were incoming and those who were outgoing. But the reality of politics is that once the new sheriff is in town, he or she has to attend to a number of interests. Hence, you saw those changes. And those changes, I mean, when you look at the party, you can see they have not gone down well with a number of people in the party. I mean, for a party leader, a former party leader, to be demoted to be a deputy minister, just a few months after the election, actually not even a few months, a few weeks after the election, so told you that politics can be brutal. It's not always that which you agree about. That's why those who are clever will tell you that in politics there are no permanent enemies but permanent interests. Once your interests start to get disrupted, you have to move in a different direction, even if it means those that you were with, so they have to be shoved on the sideline.
It's always very interesting to hear what each party wants the voter to have in their minds after something like a manifesto launch. I mean, in 2021, the DA's motto was the DA gets things done. Today, we're told that the DA is working for all. It almost tells you that they too are aware of the perception that they don't work for all.
Yes, remember they are in very few municipalities, majority in the Western Cape, I think one in the Eastern Cape, one in KZN, and then of course here in Gauteng as well. So, and in other provinces, so they are not there. So if you have the aspirations of being a truly national party, you can't be confined to certain areas. So you've got to be able to be everywhere, particularly in the economic centers. I mean, we've been talking about the battleground and where this fight will be. I can tell you now, yes, everyone will be campaigning across the country in the municipalities. But where the real fight will be is on those 8 metros. Why? Because those are the economic centers. And then, of course, there will be key cities and towns, which will also be extended to. But municipalities like Johannesburg, Tshwane, Ekurhuleni, eThekwini, Cape Town, Nelson Mandela, Mangaung, and then of course Buffalo City will be at the center of this fight. So that is why it is saying we are working for all. They want to spread their wings to those municipalities as well.
Fair enough. Mzwandile Mbeje, as always, thanks very much indeed, our politics editor, who is keeping a close eye, of course, on the different developments here at the Mary Fitzgerald Square in Newtown.